Two Jack Bros. Two Jack Bros.
Welcome back to Two Jack Bros. And of course, if it's your first time, welcome. Thank you for giving us a shot. I am Sidney. I am sitting next to Ansley.
Hello.
And today our guest is none other than the Moush.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Of course.
And of course, before we get started, I'd like to tell you guys to do all of the things you do to show love and support to a podcast. Rate, review, subscribe, especially subscribe, but also especially rate and review. On iTunes seems to be where it's the most helpful. We're trying to grow the show, and it helps grow the show. Mm-hmm. Grow the show, people. And of course, we're going to do our Patreon episode right after this. More on that later. Ani, what's up?
Dude, I'm chilling. I was just saying thank you for taking me out of New York for the day. Getting away from all the madness.
Yeah, I love it. We've never kidnapped a person before. This is pretty awesome.
Didn't take much, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the earliest I think we've had somebody at our house.
I know.
This is the earliest I've ever been at someone's house or podcasted. So it's, but I'm happy to be here.
And we're breaking ground.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. We're embarking on this voyage together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Ani, are you familiar with what we do on this podcast?
A little bit, but walk me through.
Okay. Well, the basic premise of the podcast, of course, is to prove that you can have a darker sense of humor, but still reach a higher consciousness / enlightenment.
Isn't that the goal?
That is the goal. Mm-hmm. That is the goal. So basically what we do is we take our guest, who is you, through the process of enlightenment so that Ansley and I can learn and reach a higher consciousness, and the listening audience can also laugh their way to a higher consciousness just a little bit vicariously through you.
I love that.
Yeah, that way we don't have to do the hard part.
Awesome.
Yeah, so everybody gets the same questions.
Okay.
And Ansley, let's get it in.
Ani, what situation or experience did you learn the most information from?
Oh my God, in my entire life?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. So when I was 27, I'll be 30 in a month. I very abruptly moved out of my parents' house, and I grew up in a pretty strict Armenian household. I went to college like the town over, but like lived at school, but still, you're pretty home. And moving out, I had like just tried doing like an open mic a week beforehand, and it like changed my entire world, but I couldn't tell my parents. So I'm like, if I'm going to do something and I really like this thing, then I have to like be a big girl and like move out, and like it will hurt, and I'm going to be really poor, and I'm going to go through a lot of stuff, and it's going to suck. But ultimately it brought me to my current partner and like our business that we ended up growing, and like just moving out of my parents' house without permission. Like, you know what I mean? Like, didn't take that much.
Yeah. So, well, I have so many questions. Like,
yeah.
So you couldn't tell them about this open mic that you did. Mm-hmm. Now, did you have was that your deepest, darkest secret? Like, were you a good straight edge kid?
No.
Okay. So that was like among other things.
But like that was the breaking point where I was like living this whole other life that only kind of like my friends knew about, and like the people in my immediate circle, and like the things that I found funny or whatever I kind of had to keep to myself, because not everybody was like into that, and my parents certainly wouldn't be on board for that. And I had like just got 2 degrees in something else that I was doing professionally, so it would have been something really hard for them to get on board with, which still is sometimes.
I'm just imagining you like chugging alcohol, just like at a rave, like partying hard, tattooing a baby for some reason, and then you do an open mic, you're like, I have crossed the line. I cannot tell them about this.
Yeah, I didn't tell them about a lot of shit. A lot of shit. But that was like, I didn't tell them anything to do with comedy. Even when I moved out, I was just like, I can't do this anymore. And I'm not like being truthful to myself. And I had like been doing therapy for a few years at that point anyways, and felt like, okay, if this is the thing that is only stepping in my way from doing what will make me happy or has proven to make me happy, then I need to like, I'm someone that believes you can't heal in the same place that made you sick, So when you realize that, and you're able to
Wait,
take
1 second.
Yeah.
You better not try to leave me. That what she just said is a fucking lie.
No,
Okay,
I mean,
you can heal right where the sickness started, right around the contagion. You can heal right next to the. You can sleep with the contagion.
no.
You can wake up every morning.
Parasitic relationship.
Yes. All right, go on with
No
your lies.
symbiotics.
Please spread your propaganda.
I should also probably mention I'm my mom's only child, and my
Okay.
parents are 15 years apart. So my dad had 3 kids and like a whole life before all of this stuff. So there's like a lot of different types of like pressures and like things to live up for too, especially like culturally related.
Yeah.
And so I just felt like, okay, I don't necessarily agree with all of these things, but the only way I'll be able to explore that is if I'm like not in it. And that was like the catalyst.
No, was your mom more of the you got to stay, and your dad more of the, like, trust me, let her go, nothing happens to them?
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom was really upset. I mean, my dad was probably not as upset, but like my mom was heartbroken because I didn't tell them. I abruptly moved. Like
You packed in the middle of the night.
It was a Wednesday night. I had come home from an open mic at like 2 a.m. or 3 a.m, like whatever. And she had to go to work the next day and like whatever. She got mad at me and then just was making some threats that I didn't really like. And I was like, all right, well, I'll move out. And then the next day I asked my friend if I could move in with her and her now fiance. Well, she offered, but we were talking about it.
Yeah.
And I ended up moving in the following day.
Has your relationship with your mom, have you guys like come full circle?
Yes.
And she
we're so much closer now. I tell her like so much more.
really? Nice.
We're a lot more open. I found that it's definitely better to be honest and to be open and then have that person feel like hurt maybe in that moment, but then be able to actually grow and like get to know you, especially if it's your mom and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you remember specifically, I mean, if you don't want to share, you don't have to. But what were the threats she was making that like were the catalyst for you to get out of there?
Just that like I wasn't allowed to come home like that late, or like she was gonna start charging me rent and like different things. And the point of me living at home was so I could save to buy a house. And that's the only reason why I was living at home. Like the only reason.
Did she sit up till 2 or 3 in the morning so she could?
Yeah,
text
dude.
you?
Yeah. Yeah. And like this wasn't the first time. It just like happened over and over again. And then the next day she opened a bank account for me to put rent money into. She didn't think I was going to move out. And I was like, that sucks because I'm moving out. You should probably close that account. Which like I don't think it's unreasonable for a parent to ask a 27-year-old for rent. Like that's not unreasonable. But if I'm going to say like be saved to move out or like whatever it is that I'm doing, I'm not going to pay rent and then be told that I can't come home, and have all of these other like rules on me. Like I'm a full ass grown adult,
Yeah.
and I should be treated as such. And I think for us to be able to have that like relationship as like adult to parent at this point in my life, I had to make that separation. And I think that's like really hard, for some people.
Had your older siblings they all moved out? Like was that?
Yeah, well, they're my half siblings, and I didn't really have like a relationship with both of them. So
Okay.
Those
Yeah.
are the only siblings I have. I have no sibling that I have the same both parents as.
Yeah, I don't really know most of them, but one of them is my godmother.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Huh?
yeah,
Your half sister is your godmother?
Yes.
That is some hillbilly shit. Are you from the mountains of Armenia? Like, what is that? Does she have hairy forearms too?
I don't know. I haven't seen her in like 2 decades.
You have a phantom godmother
Yeah,
who is
dude.
also your stepsister?
Yeah, dude. It's all kinds of weird. My family, like, I love my family. My family's also weird. There's like
Families should be weird.
yeah.
Yeah, it gives you character.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So if you could distill the information that you got from that experience into like a short phrase or few sentences, how would you do that?
Sure. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't do something if it affects your happiness. Like, if you know that you're in a situation that's toxic in any way, even if the break is difficult, in the end, you'll survive much longer because you won't have that turmoil on you.
Yeah.
Had you always wanted to do, like, so you had 2 degrees, like you were going down the professional lane, but had you always been like, I want to do comedy? Like, had a...
Nope.
No?
Nope. I had like no, and I mean, I loved comedy as like a thing to watch and observe, and that's pretty much all I listened to. And I was, before this, I did interior design, interior architecture professionally, and I taught and like in colleges and different things like that. And I found that very rewarding as an artist and a designer, but I just didn't like being told to like show up and be creative now, or like, you know, I felt like my bounds on my creativity were just, it was constricted. And I had a friend who, well, I was like going through a year, like a really shitty year, and I had wanted to write a book for some years, and I was just trying to get those feelings out in some way, and it wasn't coming out. When I tried writing it, and I had a friend that said, like, why don't you just try an open mic? You know, like, just, I've tried it, like, I'll go with you, like, you don't have to go back if you don't want to. I'm like, why not? Whatever, I don't know anyone. So I had a friend come with me, and he went before me, and if he didn't go, I would have never done it. But that day like changed my entire life. Like, I didn't end up doing stand up much longer. I did it for like 8 months, and then pandemic happened. But I mean, so many opportunities came from it, and like I found that I'm good at other stuff besides just design. And you don't have to, just because you have a degree in something doesn't mean those skills aren't translatable to something else.
Yeah.
You know.
Actually, and I'm sorry, I forgot to mention this. Ani is the proprietor of Too Much Content, the podcast network that is kind of taking the world by storm right now.
Thank you.
I really appreciate what you guys are doing out there.
Thank you.
So check out all of the different podcasts that she has on Too Much Content.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Our website is toomuchcontent.live, and also our Instagrams.
Hell yeah.
Check it out. Yeah. I mean, the podcast game is crazy. I never thought I'd ever get into that. Like, I would listen to the radio every day of my life growing up, but I never put the 2 and 2 together when it kind of started coming up, you know?
Yeah, nobody did. Nobody saw this.
Yeah.
Nobody
it's cool.
saw this. Yeah, it is pretty cool. And so I guess what we're going to do is we're going to take you through this process of enlightenment by opening up your chakras one at a time from the ground up. I mean, I have to always mention that the first chakra, the survival chakra, is located in the butthole. Are you okay with having that open?
Yes.
Awesome.
Awesome. I was wondering about that. I've been trying to find it.
Ansley, calibrate that butthole. Let's go.
Ani, how did you learn to overcome fear?
Ooh. The book War of Art.
Okay.
Have you guys ever heard of it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When I first read the 10 sort of commandments, if you will, at the beginning, I realized anything is like possible, and it's just overcoming resistance. Like, mostly fear is just resistance.
When did you, at what stage in your life did you read that for the first time?
27 years old.
Oh, this is
wow.
a big year.
Oh yeah.
27 was
a
big year.
It was a year that I definitely needed to survive.
Yeah. So how did you apply those principles in your life at that time?
So at the time, COVID was just about to happen. And in the series of like the months that I was reading it, I got laid off from my corporate job. I got hired at another place in New York that produces podcasts, and we moved to New York. And I don't know if I attribute it to the book or just being isolated in a sense, but I took that and I was like, no one's going to tell me what I can and can't do with my art and my life. And if someone doesn't like it, it's not their life, and it's not the way that they express themselves. So why am I living my life? Why am I afraid of people if they're not even living my life? Like, you know, people are going to have a problem with whatever you do, regardless if they think it's good or not. And you could do something and someone thinks it's great at first, and then 2 years later they could be like, I hate your boyfriend. And then you're like, what? you know? So you can't live your life by that. You just can't be afraid to try new things and grow.
Yeah, you're giving me a strong eating ice cream for breakfast vibe. Did you go through that as an independent adult where you're like, I can do whatever I want?
I don't know about ice cream, but I definitely like at first like smoked weed before noon.
Take that, Mom.
Yeah. But I think it was more of like I should just be able to do these basic things as an adult, you know, and like I felt stunted, you know, like I felt like my growth as an adult was being stunted living at home and like living by not necessarily just like parental rules, but like I had friends who were addicts and codependents, and like I was always, you know, living to please them and make sure that they're like happy and that they're taken care of. And my like talents were being put on the back burner, and I'm like, I'm gonna be 30, and then I haven't lived 30 years of my life. For me, like that seems stupid and weird. Why would I do that? And then when that like flip switched, it was like those people were like, wait, what do you mean? Like, what? You're not talking to me every single day and like breaking down the door to make sure I'm alive? Like, what do you mean? You know? So you can't let that dictate your life.
Did you lose a lot of relationships through that process?
Still am. Yeah, sometimes. And like some people have come around. I have to be like responsible too, or I might have not like explained everything that I was doing in these changes. But I mean, like that's how you focus and like figure out like what you really want, you know? And like I felt bad about that, you know, when people like that were close to me feel frustrated, like they don't know what's going on in my life. But there's a difference between like being supportive still and then being like, well, they're not talking to me anymore, so they must be blah blah blah, too busy for me, or whatever the case may be.
So do you remember a time in your life when you were the most scared?
Ooh. I got arrested when I was 18.
No wonder your mom was keeping tabs on you. You were uncontrollable.
They still, knock on wood, to this day don't know. But I was
sending this episode straight to your mom. Straight to your mom, young lady.
I was really scared, but I was like 18, so they didn't call my parents.
Yeah.
So once I found that out, I was less scared. But then for 7 years, it takes 7 years for like minor in possession of alcohol to be removed, expunged from your record.
Yeah.
So for 7 years, I was just terrified she was going to find out. Even though it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Never affected a job or anything like that.
So how'd you guys get caught up? Or how'd you get caught up with the cops and alcohol?
I was with an ex and a friend, and we had gone down from like my college to our friend's college to like visit him for the weekend and like house sit my ex's dad's house.
All in Massachusetts?
All in Massachusetts,
okay.
yeah. And we like went down, we partied, and we like, I hadn't driven, but my ex had driven. And as we were leaving, he forgot to turn the headlights on, and he started driving and got pulled over. And I had 3 beers in my purse that were not mine. For the record, telling the truth, they were not mine. And
possession is 9 tenths of the law.
Yeah.
Criminals like you should know that.
Yeah. Well, I didn't because I was 18. But yeah, I did learn that if I had just dumped them out into the car and like stuck them under the seat, then nothing would have happened to me. So pro tip. But because they were in my purse, I ended up being arrested.
Were they allowed to look in your purse, or did they ask and you had to say yes?
They asked and I had to say yes, but they were like very intimidating, especially at like 3 a.m. and like I'm 18, like I don't know what I'm doing.
Sure.
And then they handcuffed us to a bench with no wall behind it for like 9 hours.
What?
Yeah,
That's
I learned
awesome.
my lesson, and I had to bail both of us out because do you think my ex had any money? No. So I was very scared
Women are
at that point.
constantly in parasitic relationships. Constantly. like ambitious women constantly in parasitic relationships.
I was just talking to our daughters about that. I was like, you got to stop whining and acting like this because people are going to take advantage of you.
Yeah.
But we broke up after that. So
Nice. Well played. He didn't handle the clink strong enough for you? He was okay.
no.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. That was, I'll consider that a fear chakra unlocked.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. How does that feel? You feel good?
Yeah.
All right. Ansley, move us along.
All right, Ani, this section is called My Bad. It's a chance for you to offer an apology to a person, place, or thing in order to set your karma back to 0.
Ooh, man.
Your mom's watching like, come on.
Hey, Mom.
Come on.
Man, that's hard because I've been trying to get into the practice of not saying, well, I'm a good person, because I think people that say that a lot are often not a good people. And I think I've made mistakes, but the person who's like owed the most an apology, or like just anybody?
Any person, place, or thing.
An apology. Well, okay. I'm trying to think.
Did you just have one, but you're like, I'm not gonna.
Like
I don't wanna tell us it.
I have one in my head, but I don't. This is where I'm struggling.
Okay.
I've had a recent situation where in the past it would be my like pattern or like habit to apologize first. But I don't think I'm responsible necessarily. But to that person, if I hurt them in any way by not giving enough attention to like their life.
I'm sorry. I love you.
I'm trying to be cryptic. Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
All right, I'll just talk about it because she's never going to listen to this. My best friend for the last like 12 years, that was like my roommate in college. I was just her maid of honor. And we just had like about a month ago, kind of like the biggest fight we've ever had. We've never like fought like this before. Mm-hmm. And obviously I've been thinking about that. And I feel like the way it was left, that I'm not the one that needs to apologize for how it was left. However, I would like to apologize for maybe making her feel like she wasn't important.
So you guys haven't really talked for a whole month, like since this fight?
She sent me a text the other day and I answered, but like I did say that I was still hurt, and there was like no acknowledgement of it. And I'm finding that like with this person and a couple of other people in my life, they have a hard time taking like culpability for their actions. And so I don't want to give them an out, but I don't want to like absolve myself from making them, from this feeling that they're having, or like the reaction they're having towards me. Is that unfair?
No, I mean, I think it's pretty fair and pretty indicative of your generation.
Yeah.
And your sex.
Yeah, I guess I'll also apologize to my boyfriend for not listening to him all the time and talking over him. Sorry, babe.
All right, that's documented.
I will apologize.
He's going to just keep showing you a gif of this.
Yeah, he will. He's going to be like, thank God Sidney asked her to be on this podcast and apologize.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I'm not, you don't have to go into too much detail about what the fight was about, but I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, I mean, I was sort of like being cryptic about it earlier too, where, we went to college together and like we had what I'm now seeing as sort of like a codependent relationship in a way. But I think a lot of like female best friends can end up that way. Mm-hmm. And I really had no intention of ever leaving Boston. And then when I did, she had like just gotten engaged, and I introduced her to her husband, and her husband was actually the first person that came to me to that open mic. And like, we're very entwined in each other's lives. And we had a fight recently because I feel like I'm like removed from like my friends from home, and it's hard to make friends in New York, like period. And it's hard to make friends in this industry, period, you know, like genuine people. And then when you feel like your friends that are from home are not being like supportive, or they don't really like see the point in what you're doing, or like take the time to understand your partner and things like that, it's hurtful, and like you feel left out. So I don't know if that's necessarily like my fault, because I feel like I've brought a lot to the table to be seen, but I mean, there hasn't been a lot of time for her and I to like be together in the last like couple years because of moving, because of her getting married and different things, and that's no one's fault. I'm still like supportive of like what she does and here to like listen, but maybe I, without knowing, made her feel like the same way, you know, because I'm here doing things. And
so when you made that a little quip earlier, and you're like, you know, sometimes like a couple years later, they're like, I don't like your boyfriend.
Yeah.
That was her?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. You know what you said. You know, and I mean, that was just like from him seeing for 2 years that like I'm being treated a certain way, and kind of being fed up and saying something about it. So like,
I feel like that happens. That's like a common thing, right?
Yeah.
Because like it's a best friend, and then you have a boyfriend who's like they're different relationships, but they're both very supportive people in your life. And then it's like, how do they
and very
interact
important
with each
people
other?
for different reasons. And like it sucks because like you know when like your best friend is not fully like there, or like really, you know how they respond to certain things. And if you, I don't care if you don't like it. I'd rather you be honest with me and we can work through that, because it might just be that you don't understand something, or you saw him go off on a post or something and you're like upset about it. Like, he's a scary looking metalhead that yells into a microphone most of the day. Not a lot of people can get on board right away. I get it. But like, that doesn't mean, I mean, if you trust me,
right.
you know, like, you should know that I'm going to make a decision for myself, especially of this magnitude. Yeah. You know, that is good for me. And hopefully you would be there to watch. And instead, I feel like she's kind of watching from afar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was kind of an apology.
I did say sorry to Iris.
Yes. For sure. And we'll call that a pelvis chakra unlocked. Right? We're moving along. Right? But Ansley had a similar experience too.
Yeah.
Because it seems like it sometimes takes like a good guy in your life, a new good guy in your life, to kind of highlight how your friends are selfish.
You also made things very complicated, Sidney.
I did, but it sounds like he did as well. It sounds like he like was like, hey, that chick's being a bitch in your life.
Not even, honestly. Like, I had like,
honey, what are you doing?
I mean, he did say that, but not to her face.
I didn't say he said it to her face. I just said he said it. Goodness gracious. Are you all against me?
Yeah. You tried to dress like us. You're like, we're a whole group of girls, right?
We're friends, right? We're cool.
No, Sidney.
How did you guys get through it though? Like, in that scenario?
I just stole her.
Yeah, no, I my relationships with my friends never really were the same after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was like, you know, then you kind of like see people's true colors. I think I would rather know that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And it also kind of put me in a position where it was like, all right, I have to constantly make her decision to choose me worth it.
Yeah.
You know? And it's you know, I haven't started yet, but eventually
it's on the to-do list.
Been together for 22 years. I'll get around to it.
See this podcast studio? Okay, priorities.
Yeah, we got to do a podcast first. Yeah, but it was, it was a tumultuous experience, but I think we got closer through it. Mm-hmm. Right? It's right?
Yeah.
It worked out. We got 3 kids in a house, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? She loves her life, right? But yeah, well, Ani, thank you for sharing that, and we'll call that a pelvis chakra unlocked. Cool. Ansley, let's keep it moving.
Yeah. To the gut chakra, Ani, how do you deal with disappointment?
Ooh. Typically I throw it into artwork. I have this really bad habit of blacking things out.
Why's it gotta be black? What's all with blacking things out? What's all with blacking things? Huh?
Because it needs enlightenment.
Yeah.
But
That's one of the top 3 search porn terms. I don't know if you know that. Here we go.
God.
Ansley. What is blacked porn?
oh no.
Is it? I'm stuck between. Is it white ladies and black guys, or is it butthole stuff?
Ani, do you know what blacked porn is?
I think it's when like the girl has sex with a black guy for the first time.
Oh man, you both didn't get it.
Oh,
All
wow.
right, so what blacked is there's a woman who is ready to do a porn scene, and she's under the impression that it's going to be with like a white porn guy, and then all of a sudden they bring a big black guy into the room. And they're like, this is your partner. And then they like zoom in on her face to see her reaction to
I
it.
can't believe there's like a whole genre for this.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know if it's top 3 search term, but it's up there. It's up there. So, all right. So anyway, you blacked something.
I have a bad tendency to like try to forget the thing that disappointed me and instead take that emotion, remove it from myself so it's like out here, and the best way for me to do that is to like put it on a canvas or something like that. And that's actually probably where my best work comes from, is from like sadness or anger or disappointment.
Yeah. Now, I love asking this question. Like, so if you happen to, when you were younger, play sports or be in theater productions, can you remember when you were the most disappointed?
Ooh, yes. It was a theater production, actually. I was in the 7th grade, and I was in Watertown Children's Theater. I'm looking at you, director, okay? I wanted to be the lion so badly. I don't know why. Wanted to be the lion.
Was this Wizard of Oz?
It was the Wizard of Oz. I don't know why. Completely, see, blacking things out. It was the Wizard of Oz. I wanted to be the lion so bad. And I got cast as a flying monkey. And I was so pissed. I was so pissed. I quit theater. I quit the play and I quit theater. I was like, this is insulting. I don't even have lines. All I have to do is squawk around. No, not me. I was so upset. I quit theater, dude.
She like showed up in her sunglasses and her scarf, and she's like, "This is beneath me." Like she had like a latte in her hand. Her agent was screaming at the director.
How could she be a cowardly lion? Look at her.
Yeah, that's pretty. You had the hairy forearm. That's flying monkey forearms. Come on. And now, where did the disappointment lie?
I felt like I did such a good job. I auditioned so well, and I had done so well in like the previous plays, and I felt like I was like, this. I'm gonna get this, dude. Like, this is me. This is when I was young. We're talking about young disappointment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That definitely. I was like,
What about who got cast as the lion? Like, were you spiteful? Like look at them.
yeah,
Why
I
not?
didn't
You should
like
be a
her
monkey.
through high school. I didn't like her. She was a year older than me. I remember what college she ended up with. I don't know why I remember this chick's name. But yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. So, I mean, other than spitefully keeping track of the lion, how did you deal with this disappointment?
I think I tried to do other like extracurricular things, which could have actually been, forget if it was like art or if it was like youth group at the time or something like that, like planning events for like my youth group. But like I always would just do something else, like take that energy and like put it into something else, because otherwise I spiral. And I think I've always kind of like, always since I was like 8 years old, like I can remember having anxiety, and that's, if I don't deal with disappointment in like some physical way, then like I go crazy.
Do you remember any of the things you said during your audition?
No, that part I don't. No.
Maybe why you didn't get
Maybe
the part.
why I didn't get the part.
That should be burned in your heart.
I
that
didn't earn
audition.
it. I remember being on stage for sure, and I remember like looking out into the crowd, but I don't remember any of the things. Maybe I didn't do a good job. Maybe I completely blanked.
You were too confident to be the cowardly lion. You were really like, I got this. I'm gonna. Yeah.
Maybe I blurted out, I want to be a flying monkey, and just don't remember.
Hi, I'm here auditioning for the part of the cowardly lion. Thank you. I want to be a flying monkey. Did I get it? Did I get it? Am I the lion? Awesome. Awesome. Yes, that is. I like that. I like that. I like that. That's a fun one.
Yeah.
Goofy.
Yeah. It's all right. So that is definitely a disappointment chakra unlocked. That's the gut chakra. And you're familiar with chakras and such,
Oh,
right?
totally, yeah.
Yeah. You probably know more about chakras than we do.
I don't know about more, but I feel like I try to learn about them regularly.
You hear what we've been saying about chakras so far?
What about them?
That's what we know. So what, about the same, a little more?
Yeah, about the same. I know like what yoga positions sometimes to like help with some of them, and that
Oh
is
yeah,
kind of cool.
What yoga position is for the butt chakra?
I don't know about that one, but I know the heart chakra one. I know the heart chakra one where like if you like interlace your hands behind your body and then you pull from your shoulders upwards and like you bend from your hip. So
Okay.
like you'd be at a. It feels good. I'll show you after
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, okay, almost like a chicken dance.
Kind of. You're
Yeah.
like opening up your heart. You
All
know.
right.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Ansley,
We were at the heart chakra.
Ooh.
So Ani, what have you learned from grief?
Grief. That growth and loss can feel like the same thing. Like you can feel grief not just from someone dying. And you can feel grief from like different scenarios. It doesn't necessarily have to be like the end of something either, but you can still feel sad. It's just like important to acknowledge it so it doesn't overtake you.
and if you don't mind sharing, I'm very curious about some of this growth grief you're speaking of. Like, what is there a specific growth grief that comes to mind?
Yeah, I think, I feel like I've been talking a lot about like not being from back in Boston and like moving. But with that, I feel like whenever you like grow and you're like shedding layers and like the different situations are happening, different friends not like, being on board, and that can feel like grief or like losing a client or not seeing eye to eye with like someone who you you like have a business with and things like that. Not like in a bad way, but as you grow and things are like left in the past, I think that is a good thing, but can also feel like grief. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think 'cause a lot of stuff gets associated with your identity, right?
Yeah.
And so then like that can be like, I'm sure there's good things to that, but that can also be very stifling, right? So when you want to grow and change, it's also changing your identity and who you are.
Yeah. I think also through COVID, I think we all felt grief, just like not being able to be near our like loved ones and stuff like that. And I think that was just perpetuated after I moved, to a different state. And it's not a bad thing, but like, when someone dies or like if friends are getting together or like something in your personal life that you want to be at or feel like you need to be at, you can't be, that you still go through that motion of like, well, would I have felt better if I was like there? And if not, then like I still have to go through this roller coaster, but now I have to do it like kind of myself. And I think that's okay. Like, it's fine to like grow from that and like understand that, but acknowledge that that's what that is and not just anxiety or, just distinguishing the difference between the two.
Yeah, and it's interesting how Ansley contextualized it, because in that way that you contextualize it, then when you grow, a part of you has to die.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have to mourn. I was just trying to contribute. I just wanted to also say something. Yeah. But do you have like a loss grief that comes to mind? I mean, again, you don't have to. What you just said was adequate enough, but just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I mean, my life as a designer is totally different now. I still do it sometimes, but I invested so much and so many years and money and time and effort to like be successful in that field, and then to honestly kind of just let it go was a lot.
Yeah.
I felt grief from like since I was 8 years old, I wanted to do this thing, and now I'm not doing it anymore, like every single day. But I'm doing something else that I like, and I can tie it in. So that's a good thing. But I had to go through. Oh, that's part of my identity. Like I am a designer. Now I call myself something else.
It's interesting that was your like childhood, professional dream too. Like you found more happiness in like letting go of it.
Yeah.
That is pretty wild. And I by the way, I just want to mention that Ani did do the set design for the Guys We Fcked podcast. Those girls did a comedy special together.
Yes.
And Ani did the set design.
Oh, nice.
I did.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I
it was
did.
pretty cool. It was an awesome set design.
Thank you.
And I almost didn't want to mention it because Guys We Fcked is our biggest competition. We gotta take them down.
I designed their studio too, their new studio.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. It was
Man.
very cool.
Yeah, I'll check that out.
Yeah, they were wonderful to work with. That was such a fun project. Both were really fun, but I was so honored that they asked me to be their art director.
Yeah, that's pretty sick. What do you think of our set?
Oh my God. You were saying that you took inspiration from TMC, and I can see it, and I am so like flattered, honestly.
Yeah.
I love it.
TMC is how the cool
Yes.
kids say too much content on his podcast network. Where if you check out their podcast, you'll notice some of you'll be able to pick up the inspiration pretty quickly.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's cool though that you still get to do the designing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get to do like no one's telling me like not quote unquote show up and do it, but like I get to do the projects I want.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. And that's also a heart chakra unlocked.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
you almost did the chicken
Yeah.
nuggets.
They were actually the first podcast I ever listened to. Was Guys We Fcked.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So full circle. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. We got. We'll talk to you. We'll interview you more about that
Yeah.
later, so we can take them down. We'll get some insider info, so we can take them down. Ansley, move us along.
Yes. Now we are to the throat chakra. What is a favorite lie that you have told, and you get extra karmic points if it's still in rotation?
Favorite lie.
All right, we just got done doing Ani's Patreon episode, and boy, man, her shadow self is something else. It's a wild child over here. Ani, do you had a good time doing
That was the
Patreon?
best time. That was the best time. Those answers got deep.
Yes.
Deep and
Yes.
dark.
Yeah.
And for $1, you get to see all of those answers. And not only that, you get all of our exclusive content for $1 a month, which includes the counter to this podcast, which is 2 Jack Bros After Dark. And also we do fight commentary and analysis on Ansley's jiu-jitsu matches. And of course, some comedy, some stand-up stuff that we put up there. And $1 a month gets you all of our exclusive content. So come check it out. Come be part of the Jacked cult. Become a Jackalite. Now we're going to get back to this episode and find out what Ani's favorite lie is.
Maybe that I'm in a recording or like I'm working, but I'm actually smoking weed. And I just want to be left alone.
You can like keep on flicking on the on-air switch.
Yeah. Busy.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So that's definitely a currently in rotation and still going to be in rotation lie.
Yeah, for sure.
Now,
Because sometimes people are just like I mean, they don't want to respect how you relax. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or it's like they don't want to count your relaxation as valid, or be like, oh, you're just smoking weed right now. You can do this.
Or even if like, hey, what are you doing? And I'm not doing anything. It's like, it's the 5 minutes I'm not doing anything. Can I just not talk to anyone for a second? Like, I'll talk to you and then this is done.
Yeah. Now, how do you, like, are you usually texting this, or do you often verbally say this lie as well?
I usually say it through text because it's more believable.
Yes. Everything is believable. Well, I kind of I don't believe everything in text. Nothing in writing. I believe nothing in writing.
Nothing in writing.
Nothing in writing.
Need to hear it.
Yeah, it's like I can't tell how she's saying this.
Yeah.
You know, she could be scratching her nose right now. Like, yeah, I'm just fucking recording. It's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't believe it. That's a pretty good lie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
I try not to lie, but you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you like when was the time that you told that lie when you were like, hell yeah? You know?
Like last week, dude.
Yeah. I guess what I'm asking is like, is there a particular like person or type of person that you enjoy telling that lie to?
Did your mom get that lie?
Oh, good question.
No, but my mom does start asking, like, I don't know if you're in a recording, but, and then she'll go on anyways.
Yeah.
No, usually I'll take my mom's call because usually she'll call me if it's like an emergency kind of thing. But is there a time I normally use it more? This might sound weird, but if somebody that I'm working with texts me about work and doesn't email me about it, I will tend to push it to lie enough so that I can answer the email or answer it via email instead.
Yeah.
Because people don't have boundaries.
Yeah. Texting work has gotten pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like,
especially where you're like emails attached to your phone and like, you know, and like my job requires me to be like constantly posting things. So like digital detoxes are really hard. So I feel like it's okay to lie about not being near my phone so that I can have the mental capacity later. But I don't know. Some people don't think it's okay.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm learning this because
like, dude,
I'm notorious for. I feel like I send the wrong type of message to the wrong messaging receiving system these days.
Yeah,
you know, it's all right. Noted.
I have weird like phone rules. Like I don't answer my phone now until like 10:30 in the morning, unless I'm like working with you or seeing you that day. Because otherwise, like that's my time to like do yoga and like meditate and have my time.
Your
so
own
like
boundaries.
Smoke weed. Meditate and do yoga. He's smoking weed. She's
They all go together, right?
Yeah, she's trying to lie to us right now. She's recording right now. Actually. All right. That's a throat chakra unlocked.
Yeah.
Feeling good about that.
Yeah.
All right. Ansley.
All right. Now we are to the third eye chakra. So we're out of the physical and into the metaphysical. Okay. So what is something that you thought was separate, but you're learning is the same?
Ooh. Okay, definitely metaphysical. I am now like realizing that all of our have you ever heard that all of our souls are always like you're always connected to the same souls? Like your mom is always your mom in like another life, or like your partner who you find is like always that person, whatever. And I'm finding that like that also happens. It feels like genetically, like the way that like your parents, like, I don't know, how am I explaining this? Like my mom and my dad's relationship, even though it came from a completely different place and they're completely different people, is so similar to mine. Does that make sense?
Like you're not like almost recreating like the.
I don't know if that's like a pattern or if that's just like things that are the same.
Yeah. No, I mean, first of all, I'm laughing at the idea of us being like, no, this sounds crazy.
Yeah.
like you're on a podcast about chakras and shit, and we're like, ew, that's a little out there, Ani.
Wait, I have a better example. Like, I I studied abroad in Italy, and I felt like a weird.
She studied abroad.
Where? Florence? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I felt a very weird connection to Florence, like as if I had like lived there in a past life. And then my parents came to visit me while I was there, and my mom, unbeknownst to her, I didn't tell her any of this, said the same exact thing in like the same exact area that we were in. And like different stuff like that in my life has come up, like just like feeling like spirit type things. And I feel like I've always like had that, and that in my past life I've always had that.
I love that stuff.
Cool?
Yeah. No, I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
I feel crazy talking about it.
I feel a very strong connection to gypsies.
Oh, really?
Like, I don't know. I'm always like, yep, if I did a like ancestry, I'm sure it would be gypsies
Cool.
some
Some nomad.
culture.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure I was there at some time.
Yeah.
Like your 23andMe comes up, watch her around your material goods. She will steal your shit.
Yeah.
Ansley used to be a klepto. Did you know that? Yeah.
I took lip gloss and nail polish from Walmart and CVS.
Who didn't?
Yeah.
Yeah. I got her on the straight and narrow. Yeah. That's pretty interesting. So how do we say this then? How do we
What's the same but different?
yeah, so it's this I mean I get it. I completely get what you're saying. But it's like how do we like
I think my soul has been the same in every life that I've lived. Is that how you say it?
I think so. I think like despite how different the lives are, the soul has been the same.
Yeah, and I think my soul, like the core things, are that those have always been the same things ever since I was little. Like, you know, the things that are in my mind that are most important to me, like honesty and stuff like that, I feel like that's always been with me, even in another life.
So do you believe in reincarnation or some sort of it, or like?
Yeah. I think we like come back as like something or someone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or do you when you think about your different past lives, do you always think of yourself as like some glorious royalty, or are you like the people?
I think mostly with people. I don't really. I haven't thought about that part of it. I'm
sorry, I'm taking it too far. My bad.
Sidney comes from Genghis Khan.
I mean, like, I feel like there's like different like animals and stuff that I see or have seen that I'm like, oh, that's my grandmother, or like that's
Yeah.
yeah.
What animal's your grandma?
She's a white butterfly. Anytime I see a white butterfly, I know it's her. Like her thing was butterflies, but increasingly like throughout my life in times that I like needed reassurance, I've seen a butterfly, a white butterfly specifically.
Okay. Wow. Do you have any other animal people?
Yeah. Bald eagles, I think, are another spirit animal of mine. And I didn't realize this until recently, but also my grandfather's name in Armenian is Eagle, and I just put that together. But when I was a senior in college, I volunteered for a week on a Native American reservation in South Dakota, and we were driving along the road to the Badlands, like on our one day off, and this bald eagle just started flying next to the minivan that I was driving at the same speed, at the same rate, just like gliding. There was nothing else, no one else around. And I took that as a good omen.
Okay.
So whenever those two.
So when you were doing that, when you were on this Native American reservation, were you passing as a Native American? Because you look like you could absolutely appropriate Native American culture.
Definitely not.
You weren't wearing bandanas and feathers and. Oh, okay.
I stayed at it was me and like I led like a group of other like seniors at my college, and we stayed at the YMCA on their reservation, which was like a log cabin pretty much, and we just did like after school stuff with kids for a week. You got spiritual though. I've been spiritual.
Yeah, were you like you banging a drum when you were doing? Okay.
I mean, I watched it, but I didn't do it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Just trying to get you canceled. we got to take our shots every chance we get. I like to take down ambitious women as often as possible. With Ansley, I'm doing it from the inside.
It's your right, dude. It's your right.
I'm just living my truth.
Yeah, that's all I want.
That's all right. I like that. I like that. I mean, that is truly a third eye chakra unlocked.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
You know, probably the most third eye
Really?
of any of the third eye chakras we've unlocked on this show.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like your answer was appropriating Native American culture, by the way. Yeah. Well, our ancestors. We are our ancestors. All right. Ansley.
Yes.
Move us along.
All right. Final question. Crown chakra. What is one thing you can't give up and why? Is a two-parter. And what would giving it up mean?
Ooh. One thing that I can't give up and why. This is such a corny answer, but like my art. Because and I've gone through like spurts of my life where like I haven't done any painting or like any drawing or anything like that. And I've noticed that when I like quote unquote give that up or I'm not doing it, I am a horrible person to deal with. I'm just anxious, and like if I'm not free in like another situation in my life, at least I can be free on my canvas. So if I don't have that or some form of that, then it's not good. So
What version of horrible are you?
I think my anxiety takes me over. I spiral. Like I like pick on things. Like I have like I get into like an OCD sort of like spiral, or like where I try to solve problems that don't need to be solved, or like I'm not logical. I'm way more emotional. So in order to balance like or pave the way, if you will, if there's like a gravel road in my mind, in order to smooth that out, like I need to have a routine. I need to like include art in that routine, and like time alone in that routine where I'm only serving myself. Because if I don't have that, then I know that I'm being a codependent, and that there's a army of narcissists that are trying to take my energy around me, you know? So I think that's the one thing I can't give up.
Yeah, I'm curious about this picking at things you're mentioning. Like, you mean like what do you mean? But like, what is an example of something like that?
So I used to have this really bad OCD habit, a couple, where I would like in the mirror at night, like before I go to bed, I would just spend like so much time just like analyzing my face, or like, you know, just like, I used to have like a thumb ring. I still wear it sometimes, where like I'd be tapping, or like I need to check to make sure like the things around me are physically secure, like locks and things like that. And I'm more hypersensitive to danger, I think, or like anxiety when I don't have a routine that I'm following, or somewhere to let that like gross energy out, because it comes really from nowhere. There's no reason for me to feel not safe. That like I have a roof over my head, I'm healthy, like X, Y, and Z. So if I know like this is the logical list and I'm not following it, I know I'm being emotional. Well, why am I being emotional? Because I've cut X, Y, and Z out probably, or is it someone that's bothering me?
Yeah.
You know?
Are you an anxious eyebrow plucker?
No. But like I'll look at my pores. You know?
Like just looking at them,
I'll just like
observing the pores?
really analyze them. Like, is that like a blackhead? Is that like it's
You won't try to extricate the blackhead?
sometimes, yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes, but like that's not good for your
See that?
you know?
She hates black.
I get the whiteheads out too, if that matters.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
all right, and that was a two-part question.
Mm-hmm.
And the other part of that question is, what would giving that up mean? So what would giving up your art mean?
No like proof of my expression or proof of like my growth, because I can see it's sort of like a timeline. My portfolio, you know, my personal art portfolio is sort of like a timeline of what I've gone through, and it's a reminder. So if I don't have that physical reminder, then like I said earlier, like I black things out. It might be something that like I should remember, this person did X, Y, and Z, or this situation might have not been good and I need to learn from it and remember what I learned from it. But since I know this about myself, or I have this habit, these are good reminders that are in front of me. So if I gave those things up, it would mean that I wouldn't have like physical reminders that were from my soul around me.
Wow.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, it's like it's almost too good. It's like, are you trying to tell me I'm a shitty person? Ani? Like, what are you? What are you
Just
doing?
spent a lot of time by myself this past year.
Okay. I feel like you came here to embarrass me in front of my lady, Ani. Like,
You fucking caught me, dude.
that was awesome. Well, I mean, that's
Thank you.
that's the podcast. How do you feel?
I feel really good, actually.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you for making me think a little bit.
Yeah. Well,
Maybe I should apologize more.
Yeah, I think you're fine. I think with the way you apologize, you're just fine.
Very cool.
Yeah, so we're going to do some more thinking, of course, because we got the Patreon coming up. And for $1, gets you all of our exclusive content. You just saw Ani bare her soul on this podcast. And then on the other one is the counter to it. We call it Two Jack Bros After Dark, where we unlock and enlighten Ani's shadow self.
Ooh.
Amongst other things, but there'll be a little ad in the podcast for that. Our kids are having a good time. You can never tell.
Yeah.
You can never tell. So thank you so much. And remember to check out all of Ani's podcasts on Too Much Content. I mean, you'll be able to find something you'll like and be able to listen to or watch consistently. And thank you so much for... Oh, Ansley has a fight coming up.
Yes, about domestic violence. It's on the 26th of this month. If you want to donate or support, there's links on Instagram. Be very appreciated.
Okay, and we'll definitely tell our Patreon subscribers. They'll be more likely to do that. Unless you guys want to become one of the Jackalites and join the Two Jack cult as well, come join the cult. Get in the cult. Guys, thank you so much for listening. We love all of your support. We love you guys, and we're out.
See ya.
Two Jack Bros. Two Jack Bros.